So, as I said, we're going to jump into some slides now, looking at the success path and what could be ahead, and the ways that you could develop your VA business or move on into different arenas, really, slightly. So I'm just going to change the view so we just get speaker view, and I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Share. Move that out of the way. Okay. I'm just going to move you so I can see you. So apologies if I'm looking over in that direction, but the slides are on that screen there. So welcome again, as I say, welcome this evening, and thanks for giving up your time. I am really pleased to have you here. We're going to be talking about the success path. So as I said, this is potential ways that you could look at growth in your business, basically. I think most of you know about me, so I'll just whiz through this one. I've been married to an RAF gentleman for 27 years. We have 3 children. We have 2 miniature long-haired Dachshunds. We've moved, I worked it out just the other day, 14 times in 27 years. And I've had a lot of jobs in the past because every time we've moved, I've pretty much had a new job. So that's an interesting thing in itself, isn't it? Because people, only earlier today, Katie was saying, well, she wished she'd known about this sooner. And that's a question I get asked a lot. But in all honesty, I think, yes, I do wish I'd started this sooner. But that said, you know, I've been collecting all of this experience along the way, which just made me more valuable to my clients. So things happen for a reason. That's my motto. That's the advanced timeline that we went through in the first session. So from 2017, we started. We can see there, first associate 2018, first team member 2019. First thing I outsourced was social media because I hate it. Then we launched the academy. Then I did the certified director of operations course. I've done a lot of courses, but I'll go more into that later. And then this year we've had a really busy year in terms of mainly the agency, in all honesty. And we've gone to a limited company, VAT registered, and the membership launches next month. And who knows what's beyond there. Exciting times. So today we're going to be covering the VA in general. I've got a few stats that you just might find interesting. And then when you're ready for more, what's out there and how I can help you. So did you know the hourly rate ranges from £10 to £95 an hour? These details are from the Society of Virtual Assistants. They do an annual survey, which I partake and therefore get a copy, but you can purchase it. It's a really good tool. It's really valuable. There's an awful lot of information. It's not that expensive. I think off the top of my head, it's about £30 or maybe a fraction more. And it's a really, really good tool to look at what's going on in the industry. And we'll talk more about that later. So this is what they have in their survey, is that that's the range of the hourly rate. And as you can see here, the most popular rate is £25 an hour. I really strongly encourage anybody that goes through our academy to not charge less than £25 an hour. I think a lot of people, through lack of confidence, are worried about starting at that rate and almost, you know, say it really quickly when somebody says, how much do you charge? But having these statistics in front of you should help you know that, you know, the average rate is actually £27.17. So I would say always start at 25, don't go lower than that, because I think it just puts it brings down the industry as a whole, and I think it's unfair, and you know, that's a fair rate and people are paying it, so why wouldn't you? So anyway, just a really interesting stat there. I think I personally think that a lot of more established VAs is generally charging about £30 an hour, and if it's an agency, it's usually more than that. So typical roles in the VA industry are, you know, general admin. I mean, that's the most popular one. You know, the inquiries that we get into the agency is generally PA/EA type of roles, but that we do have an awful lot of other things, and there's so many nuances to each role. Honestly, I could be here all night talking to you about it, but you know, general admin could be anything from like helping with presentations and The PAEA is obvious, you know, the diary management, the inbox management, travel, sending the wife flowers on their wedding anniversary, all of the standard PA roles. And as you know, as a PA, you know, you get very much involved with that CEO or that director's life, and you know, you actually become very integral to that business. And actually we do have people on our team that are PAs in, you know, big organizations that I don't understand why they don't choose to have employed staff, because they're like international company, but they do sometimes use VAs. I think PricewaterhouseCoopers is a classic, they use VAs. And who uses them? Sorry, that slide's just dropped off there. Generally, you'll probably find you'll start out with people that are like startups or one-man bands that have got to the point where they're just at bursting and they need some help. Definitely there's a lot of people like that use a virtual assistant. But as I said, you can go right through to huge companies that use virtual assistants. Definitely property and real estate use virtual assistants. Oh, sorry, I can't quite get down. So tech companies, people, digital marketing, website creators, people that are tech oriented are definitely, they were leaders of the field with the VA industry. When I started out, definitely they were obviously very open to remote working because that's what they do, and they know that the tech's there to support it. Now that we're all familiar with Zoom because we've done so much home working, it's opened the eyes of very many more industries, and I think that there's, you know, the world's your oyster really. Medical, private medical and dental tend to use a VA. I've had people like hypnotherapists and acupuncturists and what they call them, doulas. Various like people in the medical arena, because often, especially with like private consultants and things, they have their NHS contract and they don't want to miss calls, and they might be just a one-man band or woman band and they want that support in managing their diary for their private clients, patients, whatever. So that's another really popular one. So many, I mean, honestly, it's getting just broader all the time. I know we've brought this up a couple of times, to niche or to not niche. I find this quite a tricky one to talk about because I didn't, because I couldn't. I just couldn't decide. I couldn't pin it down. I couldn't be that focused. I honestly didn't know where to start. I didn't, but if you do know where to start, then you're at a kind of an advantage in a way, because as we've said in Roz's session earlier this week, you can focus your marketing on that one particular niche. So you might know, say for example, well, I'm going to pick on, oh, who's it? Oh, is she not here? I can't see who's here. Sorry, I've forgotten your name. I can't see all of your faces, but the lady who's in health and in wellness. You know, if that's your niche, she's obviously decided that that's her niche, to be in health and wellness. You can target your marketing to that, and it might be that the industry is the niche, it might be the activity is the niche, and you'll hear more about that as we go on. So it's really up to you. I stayed very broad. I actually really wanted the variety. I wanted to be able to offer the services that I knew I could do and keep that variety open to me. So it's really up to you, but a lot of people do say to niche is better. So long-term plan, again, some stats from that same survey. 75% of VAs see it as the long-term business. 58% expected their prices to raise this year, just like a modest increase with the cost of living. So this is the purpose of this is to say we're talking about growth. So this is why I'm talking about raising your costs and how do you make more money in the longer term. So what very often happens is you've done all the work in the beginning of, if you've gone through my course or whatever, and you've thought about what your boundaries are, and your boundaries might be, everybody in this call could be different. Your boundaries might be, I'm only going to work 3 days a week, 9 till 3, or it might be like me, I like to work. I actually work 8:30 till 6, 5 days a week. But if I want to take time out in the day, I do. And I don't really start client work. I don't do client work all of that time, but having the 3 areas of my business, as I explained in the first session, I need a lot of time for working on in my own business rather than in other client business. So, and that's not billable, clearly, you know. So, you know, whatever your boundaries are, you know, you at some point will become fully booked. So, you know, I can absolutely guarantee it at some point or other, even if whether you've got 3 hours or 30, you're going to be fully booked. And so what do you do then? Because you've hit your earning ceiling and you don't really realize that that's a thing until you get there and think, I haven't got enough hours in the day now to increase what I can potentially bring in. Now, the first thing I would consider is raising your rates. Now, that sounds really obvious, but a lot of people don't think about it, and a lot of people are very uncomfortable with that. First things first is I would have something in your contract that says that you will review your rates annually. And what I do is I review my year start is 1st of April, and I review, I've got within my rights, because it's in my contract, that I'm going to review my rates from the 1st of April. But if I'm going to increase my rates, I give 30 days notice. So I usually review them early in the year, give notice in February that they're going to be going up on the 1st of April. And it's just, it's not a thing because it's already in your contract and it's expected. And if it happens every year, even if I don't put my rates up, which I didn't during COVID times, I email my clients to say, I've reviewed my rates and I'm not putting them up. Because then it's an expectation that could happen every year. And I want to just hit back on something that Katie and I were talking about earlier, you know, taking off your employee mindset hat and putting that down and remembering that you're a self-employed, this is your business, your rules. So you can absolutely charge what you like. And I'm not guaranteeing you'll always get clients if you're going to charge them £95 an hour. But you can charge what you like. It's your business, your rules, your decision. Of course, if you're going to put them up and it's unreasonable, then you're going to have maybe some kickback. And I think that I don't know that we're all British here, but I know a good few of you are. And I think that we British really hate talking about money. And I can guarantee you that, you know, that will change and you'll feel more comfortable with doing that, because you step into your CEO role. Eventually, it just takes that mindset work to get you there. Step into your CEO role and know that you own this business, and you know you've got to trust that you're charging the right rates, and that's about knowing your worth, really, and keeping an eye on the industry. Not, you know, you might think, oh well, I only want to work 3 hours, so I think I'll charge £150 an hour, and that's me done. Job done, brilliant. Of course, that's not going to happen. So you've got to be realistic about it. But you must charge your worth, and you mustn't feel uncomfortable about putting up your rates. And you should review them every year. I mean, which business do you know that doesn't? You know, so you should be reviewing them every year, even if you don't put them up. Keep an eye on that survey. That's a really useful tool. If you don't buy the survey, you'll find people like me talking about it. So you'll keep an eye on what the rates are. And another thing I encourage you to do when you go through our course is to do some what I call trailblazer research, because the VA industry is very collaborative. We don't like the word competition, but of course you've got competition out there because there are hundreds of other VAs that, you know, are all looking for clients as well. But I think it's really worth keeping an eye on, you know, a few of the trailblazers, people who think they're doing a fabulous job. Keep an eye on what they're doing, and it helps you keep an eye abreast of what's going on. But don't be uncomfortable about putting your rates up. There are templates for, you know, types of emails you can use to put your rates up. And, you know, if at the end of the day, if they choose to not accept that, then that's up to them, and that's okay, because there will be somebody around the corner that will be okay with that rate, as long as it's not £95 for general VA work. But so don't let fear get in your way, and remember to wear your CEO hat. So when you're ready to up level, you know, how do we go about that? Where do we start? Well, I mean, a big thing is mindset again. You know, I realized relatively early on that I was taking on more and more. I'm so nosy, so I get into a business and I want to know everything that's going on, and I felt some sort of pushback from some clients, like, you're just a BA, you don't need to know. And I'm like, well, no, I need to know the whole business to know how we can make this better, you know. And that's just because of my experience and everything that I'd already done up to that point. I'm used to going in problem solving and things. And so I realized that I was delivering more, and I wanted to be more than just generalist VA role. And so I decided to up level to online business manager, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I have invested in myself quite a lot along the way, and I can't even remember all the courses. I was going to look it up, but I ran out of time. But I've spent a lot of time and effort and money on my continual professional development, because I choose to, because I love it. And so there are many courses and things out there that you can do, and I'm going to go into those further on. I don't want to get into this in this slide. So you can develop yourself that way. And the other thing is, you know, don't forget to do your business development. I wanted to put this in here. I didn't know where to put this, but I just felt like this is something I wanted to talk about. And you know, once a month I meet my good friend Jackie, who is actually an ex-client. She's volunteers for a charity, and she got me some work with a charity that in my really early days. But she and I have become firm friends, and she is relatively local. I met her on face-to-face networking, and I think that's the only client I got from face-to-face networking, actually. But I don't go to that for getting clients. Actually, I go that for business support and to meet other business owners. That's another really valuable thing that you'd get from face-to-face networking. But she and I have become really firm friends, and we meet once a month to review our goals, and we help each other. She's a business coach, so she's really great at coaching me, but I'm much further down the road in my business, and she's trying to create something for herself while she's in full-time employment. So, you know, it's a win-win situation, and we make sure that we spend time at looking at our goals and moving things forward. And that's how you get that growth. You know, it's just reviewing it, taking yourself out of the business. We actually go meet in a cafe and we sit there all day. And I would take yourself out the business for business development, go to a co-working space or something like that, to just know that you're not going to be interrupted with client work, and you're just going to be focusing on that growth of your business and where you want to go. So there are many specialist VAs, far too many to even list here, but some of the most common ones I thought I could talk about for you. And I've called them specialist VAs. I'm not sure they call themselves that, in all honesty, but the point is that they really niche down. They really focus on these specific elements that I'll talk about in a minute, and that's all they do. That, you know, so, you know, I know my bookkeeper called herself a virtual assistant, and she does a lot of bookkeeping, and then she did a lot of qualifications in bookkeeping. And actually, she doesn't want to do a virtual assistant work now. She just does bookkeeping. Actually, see, that one's not even on there. But, you know, so she decided to just focus on being a bookkeeper. But there's many that can attract a higher rate than your general VA rate. And if you find what ordinarily happens in my experience, unless you're already specialist in one of these things, is that you start out and you find sooner or later that your path, you know, you work out that, oh, I really absolutely love doing that. I'm going to do a bit more courses on it, or, you know, or I already have those skills, but it's what I really love, or whatever. And one is email marketing, and that's quite specialist in itself. It's not something I'm brilliant at. I definitely get help with that. And one way I find, another way for continual CPD, easier to say, is there's many podcasts, as you know, there's hundreds of thousands probably podcasts out there. But, you know, I use a couple of people who I really rate to help me with things like this. So there are people that specialists in email marketing, and it isn't something I know a lot about because, as I say, I definitely get help with that. Another thing is a launch VA, and I've been meaning to do a talk in my group about this, because what I'm finding is coaches especially, people with online courses or memberships or that type of thing, and particularly in the US, they all have a program that they want to launch. And now there are people training people how to be a launch VA or a launch specialist, or call it what you like. And essentially what that is what we're doing here. This is what you'd call a launch. And it's very much project management based. You have to have a very clear and organized approach, like managing a project. It is a project to manage because it's just it's a life X thing, and essentially, but there's also quite a lot of marketing in it. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. And essentially it's creating a funnel in which I'm gonna have to have a drink, excuse me a minute. A real tickle. It's creating a funnel in which to have people attracted to buy that program. And there are many different ways of doing it, and there's many gurus out there that will tell you how to do it. And I decided, because I will have my own online course, I decided I wanted to learn how to launch properly. And I ended up doing 2 different launch courses, because I actually quite enjoy it. I like project management. You know, whenever we've got anything going on in the house, I literally can't wait to create a spreadsheet. And the children even bought me a I love spreadsheets cup, you know, mug. I love a spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet for Christmas. If all the family are coming, I have like who's taking charge of what meal. I just love, and this is, I love all the children's parties were second to none because I loved it, you know. And so I love event management and project management. And so this was really something I was interested in, but it is a bit specialist. And but to contradict that, I'm not really very good at marketing. It's not my bag. And so you kind of do have to have that as well. So because I'm only doing it for myself, I never intended to learn it to sell it. I didn't really worry about that. But in actual fact, now I'm getting clients coming to me saying, can you help me with my launch? And I'm like, well, I can, but I'm rubbish at marketing. And they're like, that's fine. I just need somebody to keep me on track. So now that's what I'm finding I'm doing. I'm actually considering building a sub-arm to the agency for launch and having a whole team for launch, because it's becoming really, really prevalent, and it can attract quite a high rate as well. So that's definitely what a specialist that you could consider. You would need to probably do some training on that. But if you've got good project management skills, then that could be for you. Another thing is a tech VA. Now, there are people training people to become a tech VA. I couldn't comment on how good that training is because I haven't heard of anyone that's done it. But a tech VA is somebody actually I need in launches. In fact, my tech VA has had a bereavement and I'm trying to do it all myself. And oh my gosh, I miss her because she is just a genius. I knew she was a genius, but now I really know she's a genius because the sorts of tech that you use for a launch, for example, or for running a course, there's quite a lot. So you might have your website sat here, and it might be and these tech people know how to manage, how to build and website. And then you might have your course sat somewhere differently, although they could be on the same platform. And then you might have something like Stripe or Go Cardless that is the payment gateway. And it's about getting all of these things to meet up and talk to each other. There's a software called Zapier that you can create to get them to talk to each other. Then there's things like automation. So say, for example, you created a lead magnet. That's another one to add on there, actually, like graphic design and stuff like that. If you created a lead magnet, and a lead magnet is like something that's a downloadable that somebody could get for free in return for an email address. Basically, that's a lead magnet. And that's for building, going back to email marketing, you're building your email marketing. And I'm sorry if I'm losing you, because tech VAs are something else, I tell you. And then what you might do is say you downloaded my skills analysis sheet of how, you know, that's a lead magnet. You'll have put in your email address. You're now in my email marketing, and I know that you're looking at potentially becoming a VA. Okay. Then what Rachel will have done is you'll have gone into an automation. So you get tagged with that you've downloaded that, so I know what you were interested in. So I can use my marketing to direct to specifics like that. Not that I'm that clever yet, but you know, you can. And then the automation would be like, so straight away send out the lead magnet, and then you say, and then leave it 2 days and send them this email. How are you getting on with the lead magnet? And then leave it 3 days and then send them this. And you can even pick out bits of an email that you don't want to send to some people. It's called segmentation, or put bits, you know, and some get the whole email, some get all of it minus that bit. It's really, really clever, but it's quite technical. And if you're at all techie, then brilliant, you're going to be, you know, flying, because tech VAs and launch VAs are like hen's teeth, or good ones. You can charge quite a bit for those kinds of roles. I hope I haven't frightened any of you there. The tech is a bit frightening. Systems and processes. Now we're talking my language. I love systems and processes. I love SOPs. I love to go think, right, no, this is how you should do it. This is a much more efficient way. I can tell you that you can automate stuff to miss out the manpower. So I do actually quite a lot of consultancy on systems, and not quite a lot. I have done a fair bit of consultancy on systems and processes to make businesses more efficient. And then you create SOPs, standing operating procedures, to say, right, it's kind of like your idiot's guide, you know, do this, do this, do this, do this. This is how we onboard somebody new into the business, and this step by step by step by step. And it might be that you send them out the contract, but then you've got to show them how to use your email signature software to send out the contract. So it's a real, like, if I wasn't here, and I, you know, use this all the time with my VA, if I wasn't here, she could pick up an SOP and follow through how to onboard somebody. So systems and processes, and as Katie said earlier, one of the ladies, I think she was on the first cohort, she went straight into that because she loves it. And I know her very first job, she was getting £45 an hour to do that, and that's straight out of doing the training. So I must touch base with her, actually. I was reminded of her today talking about it with Katie, so I'll see how she's getting on. Interestingly, minute taking demands quite a high rate, but of course it's a short amount of time. So I know that, you know, you take the minutes, and then I think they say it takes about 1.5 times or 2.5 times longer to actually type them up. I'm trying to remember now, but that's quite a skill, especially if you've got something like shorthand. That is quite a skill, and you can definitely get jobs, you know, just doing minute taking. You know, that is definitely out there. I haven't had it in my business. I don't have anybody with that skill, and I'm not a touch typist at all. It's certainly not something I can offer myself. But it is quite an in-demand one, and you can charge a bit more for it. CRM management and ClickUp specialist. So CRM is customer relationship management tool. So it's managing all your clients in one tool, and you use it for like a sales funnel as well, in a way. So, you know, people might show an interest in your clients' work, and then you've got to they're a warm lead and you've got to try and get them down the funnel, or set up a call and send a proposal and send a contract or whatever. But it's also somewhere where, you know, you can tag different clients to say what they're interested in, you know, for your clients this is, and then they can target, you know, send out emails to them relating to specific things that they might be interested in. That so it's basically a database of all your clients, and some of them are really quite big and clever. I use one called Dubsado, and it does a bit of everything. I don't use it for everything, but it does like calendar scheduling. It's obviously a database of all my clients, and but I've also got all my associates. I've also got a form that's on my website that you can complete to say you're interested in becoming an associate on my team, and it's all automated by Dubsado. So it goes from the website to Dubsado, captures your details, straight away sends you out a questionnaire, and then I've got all of your skills under my nose, and then then we've got it stored, and when a potential client comes in that you maybe a match with, I'll set up a call. So that is all done automatically using a CRM. And you know, if you know how to use those, you can either just go in and set it all up for clients and leave again, or be on call like my lovely Elaine in the States. She does mine for any emergency. She just hops in and tidies it up for me. So that's another, you know, she just does Dubsado, Elaine, so that you could do that, you know, that's floats your boat. And the same with ClickUp. ClickUp is a project management tool, but it's the big all singing, all dancing tools. So it's not like being a Trello expert. Most people can master Trello, but ClickUp is a beast, you know, and there's so much you can do with it. So and actually quite often people just want it set up, so you can do these done for you, or done in a day, or done with you in a day, you know, like and you charge as a project for that type of thing, not an hourly rate, or there's all sorts of ways of doing it. So if you love a particular software, you can, and they're the big ones. Another big one is Keep. A lot of coaches like using Keep. It used to be called Infusionsoft. That's another big one. And there's lots. There's Kajabi, Kartra. All these coaches are using all of these softwares to deliver courses and things. And if you're a specialist in one of those, then they, you know, are likely to call upon your expertise. And it is more, you can charge more than an average VA for that type of thing. General project management and event management, there's definitely, obviously this sort of works sporadic, and it's sort of very intensive as well. So it's a bit like launch management in a way. You know, the project or the event might only, you know, happen once a year. You know, it might be somebody's got a huge conference in London or something, and they want you to like oversee it, or, you know, there's that type of work. Again, this type of thing can demand much higher rates, and usually it's priced on a project rather than an hourly rate. The other thing that's becoming quite in demand is video editing and podcast management. A lot of people are going into podcasts, and there's a fair bit of tech, but there's all sorts of things around podcast management and video editing that, you know, people like myself just not interested to learn, and definitely pay for those types of skills. In fact, I took a video editing on person today, so you can charge more for those types of things. Probably not the same sorts of rates as you can with project management and things, but definitely a bit more the top end of the VA scale. How am I doing? Sorry, I'm whittering on. So I would say it's really hard to say how you can charge a specialist VA rates. It's because a lot of them are project based, or yeah, it's a huge range. In all honesty, I wouldn't like to say what they are for each one, but that's kind of the bracket. So the next thing I want to talk about is becoming an online business manager. An online business manager, in my mind, it's sort of the next level beyond So I think there's like the VAs, and then there's what I'd call a high level VA. So somebody that's, you know, really established, really knows what they're doing, and they should definitely be charging £35 an hour. And then you've got the online business manager, and it is a different role really. An online business manager, in my mind, is somebody who can be more across the whole business. The times I get calls, people often don't know what an online business manager is, but they come in and they say they kind of need another person like themselves so that they can focus on their core role. So they need, I had one recently, again, she was a coach delivering an online course, and she was trying to do it all herself, and she wasn't having any time to develop course materials and things. And so she had an offshore VA, a Filipino VA, and she had a content writer, and her husband worked in the business, and she was trying to just keep it all going. And I said, you need an online business manager, you don't really need a VA. And that's because I would say that, so it's the person that just takes all of that off of the business owner so that they can focus on their core job. And you might coordinate things with the rest of the team, and you might make sure that things are done and on time, but you would also do some of the implementation. So often a VA would be somebody who would have a conversation with their clients and have a list of tasks and work through the tasks. But an online business manager would probably, you know, do some of that implementation themselves, but also just step up and take a bit more off of the CEO, I would say. So I think transitioning to an OBM, I think you'll realize that you're a bit like me, really. I probably already had the skill. I did already have the skills because I'd managed other people's businesses, you know, and I told you I'm so nosy. And I didn't want to just do a job because they said, can you do that job? I wanted to know why I was doing that job. And was it necessary? And is there a better way? You know, so I was naturally wanting to own that kind of OBM role. And so you'll notice the signs yourself. And definitely OBMs, what I really notice, and this is a good tip really, if you keep an eye on what's going on in Australia and the States, they're definitely ahead of us for these types of roles. And so usually, well, certainly in the 6 years I've been doing it, what I found is that what happens there comes to us at some point. And so, you know, what I came across the term OBM maybe 4 years ago, maybe longer, and I thought, what am I doing? That's what I am. That's what I naturally already do that. Why am I charging VA rates? So I just thought, right, I'm going to just be overnight. I'm an OBM. I didn't do another course. I knew I didn't need it. I was already doing it. And then I just increased my rates slowly. And I just took on extra VAs to take on my VA work, and I just did the higher level work. So that's what I did. As I say, there are courses out there to bring you up to the OBM certified. You don't need a certification to be an OBM. If you think that you're that person I'm talking about, or in 5 years' time, if you think you're that person that I'm talking about, you don't have to have a certification to call yourself an OBM. In fact, our whole industry is unregulated. You don't have to have anything to do any of it. But if you want to, if like me, one of your values is integrity, you know, I want to wholeheartedly deliver at the level I think I should deliver. And so I felt I didn't need the training for that. But and as I'll come on to the next one, I did feel like I needed training for the next one. So this I found really interesting. Director of Operations. I did the Certified Director of Operations course. It's quite intensive and it's not cheap. But I decided, actually, I mean, in hindsight, having done it, I already had quite a lot of all of this stuff. And the stuff I didn't have are the things I'm less good at anyway, so I tend to not want to do them anyway. But I wanted the rubber stamp to say, yes, I am good at all of these things. And so I definitely learned a lot. It was an absolutely brilliant course. Very happy to talk to anybody about it if you're interested in it. But I did this, and so a director of operations, well, I think most of us know what that is. I think that now the work I do is launch management and operations manager, and I'm operations manager for one of my clients that I've been working with since almost the beginning. It's a much more high level strategic role, getting it, you're across the whole business, so I do all the ops because it's a startup. I do all the ops. So I've brought on the whole team. I've written all of the policies. I've brought in, and I haven't done it all myself, but I make sure it happens. So I've got a HR specialist on my team. So she and I work together on those things. The staff handbook, everything you need to legally employ people, all of the HMRC stuff. I get involved in all the investor stuff. I get involved literally everything, and I'm putting in that structure for my client as the business is demanding. Well, I'm trying to be ahead of the business needing it. So I manage the whole team, or me and Debbie do. I oversee the financials because my CEO is a little bit spend happy. I manage any new projects. So we brought in ClickUp. And I managed all of that, brought it in, got it set up how we want it, and then train the team on how to use it. We monitor the metrics, although there's, it's early days, as I say, it's a tech startup, so it's early days. So a lot of everything across the whole business. The only thing I'm not involved in is the actual tech that he's created. That is, I mean, I only just about understand how it what it does, let alone how it works. That is not my bag, but it's really, I love being across all of it, and I really enjoy it. I found the accountant, onboarded the accountant, deal with the accountants, found the lawyers, onboarded the lawyers, deal with all the lawyers, everything related to law. I'm talking to them all the time, so it's really, you can see it's really quite high level. And then what I'm really conscious of, and this is what I sell as when I was a VA. The thing you sell, as I told you, I can't remember which session now, but I know I've talked about it already this week, is that thing where the dentist needs to earn £200 an hour. So you need to apply that to yourself. And if you're thinking, why am I filling in, why am I filling in a 200 thing spreadsheet when I'm worth much more than that? I can get somebody for much cheaper to do that for me. And you always think that way. So whilst you're doing that, and that's how you sell yourself to a client, you've got to think that about yourself and your own business as well. So as I mentioned earlier, bringing in the cleaner, why do cleaning when you can pay I think it's £14 an hour now, my cleaner, and I can earn however much more, so it's the same thing. And so what I found in doing this operations manager role is I need to make sure that I'm not wasting his money on things where I could have somebody else doing it for me that's cheaper. And so that's, something I'm mindful of, but I've got to make sure it happens. So I really do love that role. I really loved the course. This chap that I've worked with probably since my first year, maybe I was into my second year when I started working with him. I started as a VA, then I increased my rates up to OBM, and now I've increased them up to Director of Operations. And so I've just stayed with him the whole time. So you can definitely demand good rates for that kind of level of work, as you can imagine. I work for him, I do 25 hours a month. It's not a huge amount. Well, actually, I probably usually do more, but it's a very, what they call in the States, a fractional DOO. Lost my thread there. What was I going to say? Gosh, it's gone. So I actually really thoroughly enjoy doing that. And that's what I was going to say. So you don't really have an hourly rate as an OBM or as a Director of Operations. Usually it's like, well, I mean, I think on my website for a while I said it starts from £1,200 a month. because I don't want to work with anybody who doesn't want to invest that kind of money, because you can't, what I say is move the needle forward for them. You can't make a difference in somebody's business by doing 5 hours a month. You just absolutely can't. So what you find with these types of roles is you need to have the conversation and what kind of time commitment it's going to be to you, and you just agree a monthly rate basically based on that. So that's how that tends to work. I've stuck consultancy on the end there because you can do quite a lot with your director of operations in the consultancy space, and that's something else that I've invested in. There's is like delivering consultancy packages to clients, and that's quite good for me, because now I just want to work with 2 clients, and I'm actually finding 2 a little bit too much. I probably need to just drop down to 1, and I'll probably just stick with my operations manager, because I think I'm going to bring in this launch team to take that off my plate, because I'm just not having enough time. But consultancy usually projects, so you can pick them up or not. And I had a phase, I had one come in, 2 or 3 actually, sort of July, August time, but one big one in August for the NHS. And I was really interested to do it. And I thought, well, August is inherently quiet because, as you can imagine, everyone goes on holiday, and it's a quiet month. So I took on this quite big project for NHS Trust up north. Went and met them for the day, and then was working on this project. But it was one of the busiest months in the agency. We had so many inquiries. I was literally drowning, and the team were on holiday. It was just like, oh my gosh, what I've got myself into. But the idea is that you can take on projects when and if you want to, and you can just do consultancy. And there's lots of different ways that I've seen people use their director of operations. They tend to specialize not in everything. So my weaknesses across those things are the managing the finances and the metrics. I'm not keen on that kind of thing. And so some people just come in and do, like, manage a team or help you with your team, or put in everything you need to put a team in, or do consultancy on what team you need. I've done that once, and that was really fun. It's like, I've got a department that's really struggling, we can't work it out what we need, so I'd go in, look at it and say, right, this is what you need, there's the job description, off you go and employ it. So that's another quite nice little project. And you can just do, that's like, that ran over a month, but it wasn't all the time, because I was waiting on feedback from them. So it's consultancy is another really an interesting way to sort of grow and develop and increase your income, basically. And then I'm really sorry, I feel like I knew this was going to be a big one when I had so many slides. I hope this is helpful. Am I talking too much? So creating an agency. So I don't like using the word agency. I have a team of VAs. I don't actually know what the definition of agency is, but when I use the word agency, you know what I'm talking about. So when I got fully booked, I thought I had another inquiry. I think I said this earlier in the week. Then I had another inquiry, and I thought, well, I actually don't like working with client number 2. It's not my type of work, and I'd rather do this client work of this new person. So I took on an associate to do what I didn't like, and carried on took on the new client and worked with them. And I realize now, all these years down the line, it's because what I really love is to go in, problem solve, and leave again. I don't want to do it. I want to go and say, there you go, that's what I'm doing much more of now. But that's how I ended up with an agency, really, is that new clients came in. I wanted to do it, or I knew a man that could, or woman that could. So that I kind of just built it kind of by accident. And then when I decided to become an OBM, I wanted to move all my VA clients to other VAs and focus on, because it's harder they don't want to pay OBM rates because they don't need it. So that is quite an easy sell to them, because they didn't want to pay me more, because they didn't need that level of support, although one did. So I just took on other VAs, associates in my team, and moved them across to other people, and I find myself then with an agency. So oh look, that spelling's wrong there. I found myself having to do a lot of things retrospectively and learning on the hoof, and it was hard. It was hard work, and I don't want anyone to think that it's easy, and I would definitely recommend giving it quite a lot of thought. If you are thinking of doing that, then you can start setting yourself up for that as and when you've got time now, because it's definitely quite a lot to think about. What you don't appreciate is with an agent, it sounds really like a win-win situation, but you kind of need quite a lot of team for it to be cost effective, because suddenly if you go back to the that survey I mentioned earlier, the average associate rates I think are, oh, I forget, but they're kind of between 18 and 24 pounds an hour, something like that. Some pay less, I think, but it's about sort of 60 to 70% of whatever the lead VA is charging. So so you can imagine that as the lead VA, you're taking creaming off the top whatever that remainder part is, and it sounds like money for old rope, but you've got to remember that you're doing all the marketing and you're doing all of the hard work to bring the clients in, and you have to work hard to bring the clients in. You have to be doing your marketing all the time, but also suddenly you have to start going from the free versions of software to manage your team. You know, if you've got Clockify, you need everyone using your Clockify, and then you need a paid for version suddenly because everyone's using it. And then you've got things like ClickUp. You pay per user, you know, so it's like $5 or $6 a month per user. And if you've got 15 VAs on your ClickUp or whatever, you can see how that can escalate your prices. So that bit that you're taking off the top suddenly isn't all that much, if you see what I mean. Plus you've got to make sure that you've got all your legal things in place, that you've got associate contracts, that you're making sure that they're staying legal because they're representing your brand, so that their insurance is still in date. There's quite a lot of team support work needing to be done, that they still ICO registered, they've maintained that registration, that you meet with them, that you make sure everything's okay, you meet with the client, you meet with the team. So there's an awful lot of work to managing this, and it's a lot of people work. And suddenly you go from a large part of your role is the sales, it's the discovery calls, and then you hand it over to the team, you see. So if you, I mean, I've grown, I never thought, I hate the word sales. I never thought I'd like it, but I actually do really love it, because as I said earlier in the week, I can really sell what we're doing because I know it's good for them. It's really easy for me, but I don't really want to be doing it all day. That's why I have to have my own clients as well, because, you know, that would just drive me insane. So I don't want to grow an enormous agency because I don't want all of my time doing that. You have to be really have excellent, robust systems in so that the whole team know what they're doing. You have to be brilliant at communicating. You should have team meetings to communicate to them what's going on. And there are many different models of agencies. In mine, which is typical in the UK, we have associates who are all self-employed. They will pay their own insurance, their own ICO, and then they work on behalf of my company. So they use my Clockify. I invoice my client that they work with using my Clockify, which is the time tracking software, and then they invoice me using that same software, so the same stats out of that software, and that's how I work it. But I do know people that do it very different ways. It might be that the clients tell you the task and then you assign the task to different members of your team. That's another way of doing it. So there's many ways of doing it. So I really, I do enjoy having the agency, but I wouldn't want it to be 100% of what I did. And I really wished I'd known or thought more about it before I sort of fell into it. So I wanted to share that with you. So how do you know which way is right for you? Well, that's a really good question. I think that when you've been doing it a while, it becomes much more obvious. You learn to know what you love and what you really enjoy, or the types of clients you enjoy. So that's really, it is as obvious as it is. You learn to know where your expertise is, but it's really important for it to be what you love as well. And then you will excel at it. It shouldn't feel like hard work. You know, I don't ever have that weekend dread of starting on Monday morning. Genuinely, I never do. I have had dread about some clients in the past, but generally as what I'm doing, I absolutely love it. And that's really important that you have that as well. And whatever that looks like for you, you know, whether it's a certain type of work or a certain type of client, or, you know, whether some of these things I've talked about tonight's piqued your interest and you want to go and dig into that bit more. And another good thing to think about is understanding yourself really well. Know where your skills are. And I think that they're not always what you think they are. It's quite interesting to ask other people what they think you're good at, that, you know, your best friends and your family, because you go, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. I am quite good at that, aren't I? Or that sort of thing. But these are also loads of personality testing. To do the director of operations, you have to do the Colby, because she doesn't want you to do it if she doesn't think that you've got the right personality type for that kind of role. So she makes you do the Colby before you can be successful in the application. And so if you are interested in that type of thing, another one I mentioned the other day was human design. That's something I really want to learn about. It's really interesting. But, you know, if you want to learn a bit more about yourself and where your skills lie and whether you're a people person or not, or whatever, then I recommend you look into some of these and learn a bit more about yourself, and that will help you decide, you know, what type of where growth might suit you better. And then finally, we are nearly at the final slide, I promise. The VA industry, or the online service industry, is ever changing daily. I mean, the software's change, the roles change. As I said, the OBM wasn't a thing in the UK. It's becoming a thing now. Remote director of operations is becoming a thing in the UK. So this is always changing. And, you know, you don't have to just worry about it being in the UK. You know, you can look at clients outside the UK. There was a fabulous job I saw recently. If I had more time, I'd have loved to have done it for a really big coach who was in the Netherlands. So I thought, oh, I'd love to do that. So, you know, just, you know, keep abreast of what's going on in the industry. Keep an eye on of like these new terminologies. Be interested to go and dig a bit more and find out more about them. And yeah, just, you know, keep an eye on what other people are doing, because, you know, don't be on that hamster wheel not looking up. Spend time on that business development and keeping abreast of what's going on. And as I said, that survey is a really good one to keep you knowledgeable. Build your networks. I've got business besties all over that, you know, it's always a reciprocal arrangement. But, you know, I've got a lead VA who's got a VA agency done very differently to me, who's in the States, and we talk. Well, not for a little while because she's just had a baby, but we often talk prior to that, at least like every other week or something. And that's really helpful because you can share knowledge. And as I say, people are happy to share knowledge. You know, we're invaluable to each other. You know, and I've got a lot of people in my network that, you know, I really am grateful to have, and I'm hoping that they feel the same way. And the other thing is you can subscribe to relevant newsletters. There's things like Entrepreneur that now are doing a daily newsletter, which isn't necessarily VA specific, but it's really interesting to keep abreast on various news articles and how things might impact the industry. So finally, I just wanted to yes, this is the final one. Thank you everybody for spending the evening with me, and indeed the whole week. I really have enjoyed it. I'm pretty tired now, but it's been a really good week. So what I wanted to remind you of is our membership that's opening on the 3rd of October. and the things that you're going to find in there. And the reason I did this is because we've had the mental led course that's just proven such excellent results, as you heard from Katie earlier. But I wanted to be more available to more people. I wanted to open it up so that, and I didn't want to just run it a couple of times a year. I wanted it to be whenever you were ready to do something. And I wanted it to be more accessible in terms of how much it cost and things. And so now I've restructured things in here. We're still going to do the mental led course for those that want to just fast track, but I've got the 0 to 60 roadmap is for those of people who haven't even started, and that takes you through the very basics of everything you need to do to set up your business. I get you thinking about your boundaries, who you want to work with, what your skills are, and are you going to be a sole trader or are you going to be limited? There's all sorts in there. And that's a 0 to 60 roadmap to set your business up. Now, even if you've got your business already set up, it could be that you want to dip back in and see if you've missed anything. Then added to that, we've got lots of training videos. So there's, I've tried to section them off. So we've got a marketing section, a finance and legal section, systems and process section. And in there's videos on how you can do various things. And there's lots of videos. A lot of them have got written text to support it, and downloads and things like that. We're going to do a monthly live training, and we're going to do a monthly Q&A and or hot seat coaching. I quite like hot seat coaching. So, you know, I talk to just you for, you know, 5 to 10 minutes just to solve one of your problem directly. There's a community of like-minded people. I really want to develop and foster a really supportive, safe environment so that you can ask questions that you might feel uncomfortable normally asking, and no one's going to judge that. Judgment is not going to be tolerated in there, and I want you to all feel safe to support each other, and you know, maybe you'll be able to answer somebody else's question in there. We're going to do goal setting workshops. I'm really big on goal setting and accountability. I've got some brilliant, well, I think they're brilliant, it's worked for me, tools and templates of how to write your goals. So in the 0 to 60 roadmap, you'll look at your vision, mission and values, and then we're going to build out your goals, and I'm going to keep you accountable to them. I've done Gino Wickman's Traction. I should have got that book out for tonight, shouldn't I? Gino Wickman's Traction book. I love his EOS, which is Entrepreneurial Operating System. Back to operations. I love operations. I put it in. I've got this model that I put in businesses where I work. I'm actually going to an all-day conference with him in London at the end of this month. I can't wait. I'm that sad person. I love systems and process, and I will share with you how to put in how we manage that in the businesses I work in. Added to which, we've got a massive library of templates, ebooks and downloads. So ebooks are little PDFs that could be 3 to 15 pages of talking to you about a specific thing. And then templates, there's like downloadable spreadsheets on basic keeping a record of your transactions, to skills analysis, to competitor analysis, all sorts of things in there to save you reinventing the wheel. And then I'm going to move all the job opportunities out of my free group into the paid group, because I think that should be a privilege for the people in the membership. So any job opportunities, whether that be with me or other of my friends, I've got quite a few other lead VAs who've got their own agencies that are often looking for good VAs. And the good news is that we have we've created a little circular logo for people that have done the mental led course, and I want this logo to represent excellence, because that's one of our values. And I want this to become, my intention is for this to become known, that, you know, that we're known for excellence. And it's just to reassure you and blow my own trumpet a little bit, you know, we're already starting to get known for excellence. And I have a couple of lead VAs that I've spoken to that want sort of first dibs on our students for associates. So they're going to be definitely talking to us about, and I may even get them to come in and do a talk actually, to come in and say what they're looking for. And interestingly, I've actually just been connected with somebody in the States who's also got an agency, and she struggles to find good VAs. So I'm having a call with her because she wants to tap into our students as well. So, I mean, that's just to reassure you that you know, people are feeling the, you know, that they'll be getting a good quality virtual assistant that have gone through our training. And really the big thing from that is that you're holistically trained, but also, you know, you're going to have the integrity and the things that are important to me. I want all of our students to represent that. So that's the membership that we're launching. As I say, it's going live on the 3rd of October. And for people that have joined us this week in the summit, we're doing an early bird rate of $35 a month, which is ridiculously cheap for what you get. That will stay as it is unless we have like an annual increase, but they're not going to be huge. That rate will only be for people that join. I'm not sure when we're closing it yet. We haven't decided whether it'll be the 3rd of October or the 10th of October, but that rate will stop and it will go up to a normal rate after that point. So if you're interested, I would suggest that you get on the wait list, which is on the website. If you go to that URL there, just go to my website, go to the Academy, and in the drop down there's membership, and then there's sign up to the wait list. Even if you pull out, you're not obliged to stay on it, then you can guarantee that rate if you're interested. So I urge you to do that, because I'm not sure when we're going to close that, but the membership itself will be opening on the 3rd of October. So that's enough of me talking. Has anyone got any questions? I'm really sorry we're 10 minutes over. Has anybody got anything that they want to ask? I know that somebody had to go. I missed that. Everybody all right? I'm sorry I've talked at you for so long, but I hope you've got some value out of that. I hope it's opened your eyes to stuff you didn't know about. So do you feel like you've learned some things that you didn't know was out there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Well, thanks everybody. That's the end of the summit. I hope you found the week really helpful. All the replays are going to be available. I'll probably send out one more email next week with all 6 replays in for those of you that joined a bit later, so that you've got them all. But they are only going to be available for 7 days, so they will be taken down. And they're going to be moved into the membership because they're going to be masterclasses. We're going to be having masterclasses with guest experts. So they're going to move into, do you know, I was freezing earlier, so I put this big thick jumper on and a big thick, I'm sweltering. Ah, dear. Anyway, it's really lovely to see you all, and you're welcome. Georgie, good to see you. Really lovely to see you all tonight, and thanks for taking the time this week. And please give me a nudge if I said I'm going to do something and I haven't done it or whatever. And I really hope that you've got a lot out of this week. I'm going to do a Q&A session next Tuesday. I don't mind if nobody's got anything to ask. Turn up if you want to. Don't if you don't. It's for you. It's not for me. But if you've found that you've been bubbling something over the weekend, I'm actually not working tomorrow. I'm going down to Devon to see family. So if there's something that's bubbled up over the weekend and you thought, oh, I don't understand that, I'm not sure if this is for me, whatever, turn up on Tuesday for a Q&A. Also, I'm going to have Vicky, my social media lady, put out a link so that you can book a call with me if you're still not sure about something, you want to have a quick chat. So I hope that's been helpful, and I look forward to watching your journeys, all of you, and have a lovely rest of your evening.
Thank you, Paula.
Take care. Lovely to see you all. Bye for now.
Thank you.